Bengals fall to the Pittsburgh Steelers. We'll talk about that, playoff scenarios, and much more coming up next on the Wincinnati podcast.
It's an exciting time to be a Bengals fan.
I'm Ace and Zim.
We got a special show as always.
The voice of the Bengals and Ford, Willie Anderson, Corey Dillon.
The name of this thing is called Wincinnati, and I'm not going to stop.
Talk to us about that roller coaster season.
I'm still gonna give you the same AJ.
I'm gonna work as hard as I can to be the best.
Always working ever since I met y'all boy.
I gotta get your top 5 receivers. Better, man.
Real. Watch out for us.
Welcome to the Wincinnati podcast. I am Ace. He is Zim. Coming to you guys live after the holiday season. Christmas was yesterday, so hope you guys were able to enjoy your family and all of that. Hope you got every gift that you wanted. The Bengals got a gift after Sunday and some of Monday. They were able to actually stay alive after a big loss to the Steelers. Let's just rip the Band-Aid off, man. The Steelers loss, it really hurt the Bengals' chances. If the Bengals would have gotten a victory, you could almost say that they would be possibly guaranteed a playoff spot, depending on how other scenarios played out, right? But they really did themselves a disadvantage and disservice of losing this game. What were some of the disappointments in this game, Zim? Because for me, Jake Brown, and I'll start on the offensive side of the ball, the interception in the end zone, that's supposed to be a throwaway, and the fact, and I think you mentioned it and people mentioned it, Bengals were able to get up and down the field. However, turnovers in this one offensively really hurt them. We'll get into some of the other ones as well, but that's where my disappointment was from the offense. Did you feel like the offense was up to standard, or what happened, bro? What happened for this disaster to happen from a turnover perspective for the Bengals offense?
First of all, Merry Christmas, everybody. That was a rough game, though. I will tell you that. Highly disappointed. I just came out of that game. Browning, I could get to in a second. I just came out of that game, and I just said, we've sugarcoated this thing long enough. We talked about this. I started off the season really hard on these guys. And then, it was like an offensive thing, and the defense is bad. The defense is not good. There's so many different things that I could outline with the defense.
So let's start with the defense then. Let's start with the defense. Go ahead.
Even when the defense doesn't even have the ball ran on them, just watch the line of scrimmage. Now, mind you, this upcoming game, they got Trey Smith out, starting left tackle out. Maybe it looks a little different than what it does. Every single AFC North game this season, just watch the line of scrimmage. I know it's not the sexiest thing to do as a viewer to watch offensive alignment as the ball is whatever. They get pushed so far back. I'm talking about the defensive line, but the offensive line is pushing our defensive line so far back on every single snap, particularly in that Steelers game and the one where we played them a month ago. The defense up front is so bad. I don't remember. I mean, I guess 2019. That's the work. That's the last time I've seen the defense look this bad. And then it's just like a trickle down effect. If they have good games where the defense spills really well up front, and they do get decent pressure, then those are games like last week where Pratt and Wilson look okay. Anytime that the games where the front gets pushed back, then the second level, Pratt and Wilson, it looks like they're some of the worst linebackers in football. And you'd be like, what is going on? Or you see Pratt get knocked out of his boots by a running back. That was embarrassing, bro. That was so embarrassing. And then when you go a little bit further back, mind you, it's just, and you watch the good defenses, they went up front, and then it hides the deficiencies. Even that Ravens game last night, early on, the cornerbacks was getting work because they weren't getting the good push. Once the guys, they started getting down on the scoreboard, then now their secondary starts to look a lot better. But when the pressure was, it's a mess, bro. The secondary, I was going to get to Awuzie, he had put together 2 weeks really good. The last 2 weeks have been really bad. He single-handedly gave up 14 points one-on-one. That's on you. Dax Hill is a guy that always seems like he's there every single time, and then he never makes the play, whether it's he drops a pick or in this case, he's knocking a man out accidentally, which is now letting Pickens just run across the thing. Mike Hilton is one of the best slot corners in football, if not the best, but coverage is not his strong suit. The one that Mason Rudolph overthrew, the slot fade to Deontay Johnson, bro, they could have had another 40-yard pass in that game. The defense is not good. Like, I can't – it starts up front, but it's just not good. I can get into later on, I guess, when you're down and the defense is on the field, of course they get exposed. But they don't have any backbone. Remember, we had Mike Daniels on here, and he kind of talked about that up front.
Yeah, I agree with you. Just looking over some of the yards and drives here, man. I mean, the first one, they allow a 86-yard touchdown to George Pickens, right? That starts the game off. First drive of the game, 92-yard drive. Took them 52 seconds to do that. Next Pittsburgh possession, 11 plays, 80 yards. Biggest play on that drive there's a throw, I believe, to multiple guys on this drive, but essentially they run up and down the field on that Bengals defense for 80 yards. Play, like, it essentially started at the Pittsburgh 20. They go 80 yards, right? After that, you look into right before the half, they're able to score again. That is largely based off of the interception there. But then when you get into the second half, they get a field goal drive, but it's a 74-yard drive. And the big thing on that was just a huge completion, 44 yards to George Pickens, right? Like, that's just something that this defense has given up most of this season. It's just been a lot of explosive plays. And then you get another touchdown. George Pickens, 66 yards on a 75-yard drive. The explosive plays have been an issue this entire season. I don't know what it is. I know I talked to you earlier. I don't know if it's safety communication. I don't know if it's loose scheme. I honestly don't know. I don't know who to point the finger at, but they just keep happening. These explosive plays combined with some of the turnovers that have happened offensively. I can't even put this directly on the offense. Yes, the offense should score and stuff like that, but at the end of the day, those 60, 86, and 44-yard passes, those should not happen. They shouldn't happen, especially against the offense in the NFL that had a 5% sub-explosive play rate going into this game. This is one of the worst explosive offenses in the NFL, and they allowed all of those offensive plays to happen. We talk about this Steelers. A lot of people joked about them averaging 17 points a game. They were able to go crazy in this one. Like, that was the highest amount of points that the Steelers have had in years. And then
they're calling him Mason Montana. The way they made that
to Mason Rudolph. That's nasty. And then the other thing is the last game, right? 400 yards. It was like the first time ever in years that the Steelers had done that. Something is not right with the defense. I agree with you. And I think it's more than just, I know like they didn't have DJ Reader, but it's not like you're getting situations where there's runs of 60 yards, 80 yards and stuff like this. This game was won for Pittsburgh for the most part through the air. And Mason Rudolph was just able to get whatever he wanted. It didn't matter which down and distance. They were able to drive up and down the field against this defense. And you've talked about it. You were right about the defense. I had to tip my hat to you. You told me early on the defense just doesn't look the same. There's something off there. And even with the offense not delivering in certain situations, it's still on the defense to try to hold up their end of the bargain. And it seemed like anytime once the Bengals offense finally started to get something going, it was 80 yards the other way for the Steelers scoring a touchdown. It just seemed like they weren't able to capitalize on the momentum.
I don't know if it's just, yes, I alluded to the defense early on. You brought up a real good point on how bad the offense was early in the year. And then we kind of just worked off of it. Now that we at week 16, we are who we are. Like, the Bengals are the 30th ranked defense. Like, they're not good. I don't want to say they suck, but they're not good. because they
Right.
do have players that I do like, and this isn't no blow it up type situation either. It's
Right.
just the growing pains that we thought of getting 2 brand new safeties, where I'll say that I was wrong. I thought the safety thing, I didn't think the drop off would be this severe. It is.
Yeah.
Von Bell hasn't had a good year either, where he's at in Carolina either. It's his worst season, I think, of his career. But for this scheme and him being, it's just, I think it's more so the base, it's the communication. But I'll say this. It kind of reminds me of these arguments that people have against us. Like let's say the Ravens for one, right? They always talk about how they didn't have weapons and all these different things. And I'm like, bro, I get what you're saying, but you always have a top 5 defense. You always have a Hall of Fame kicker. You have a top 10 coach. That's the way your front office constructed your team. So then you can't then come back and cry and say, oh, we ain't got weapons and the Bengals got weapons. And then you see the Bengals with the 28th ranked offensive line, a coach you never heard of. You see what I'm saying? And so, yes, the defense isn't that good, but I'm going to tell you, and this is the cop-out homer take, I guess, from Zim, is that the roster is constructed for the Bengals to score 24-plus points. And I keep on saying that over and over again. You how do you know? Chase the money. Who on the Bengals defense gets paid absurd amounts? Trey Hendrickson, for the amount of production that he has, is underpaid for real. And outside of that, yes, they have a cumulative effort of defensive linemen that they pay a good amount of money, but they don't have dogs up front outside of Reader, whose contract is now looking way more favorable 3-4 years later or whatever. But you know what I'm saying? These are all mainly guys on rookie deals in the secondary. You got linebackers taking team-friendly deals. You know what I mean? I get I'm saying that the Bengals defense isn't that good. But the Bengals offense and their whole team is constructed around Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, the weapons. And when those weapons don't go crazy, you put this defense that you're asking. So then a Bengals fan or another fan will be like, well, I mean, like a Browns fan will be like, well, I mean, we got the best defense. Yeah, because you don't have a Joe Burrow and you don't have a Jamar Chase and everything like that. Your team has allocated all these resources to Clowney, to I said Clowney, shit. Myles Garrett, all these guys up front, and then on the back end, they pay their defense more than their offense. So naturally, they're building for a better defense. And that's not an excuse to say that why the Bengals suck, but that's just how they're constructed. And when they're down on the scoreboard, they're not built to stop the run consistently, and they're definitely not built enough. They're not built good enough to have a consistent pass rush, especially when they're down on the scoreboard. We're going to play guys like this Chiefs team coming up who have guys like Charles Omenihu in what I deem higher level free agent pickups that maybe fly under the radar for most, but that's a 4 or 5 sack guy. You're talking about the Chiefs, who are 4th in the National Football League in sacks, and those are guys that get paid like it though, like the Karloftis of the world and stuff. That's a high pick. You know what I'm saying? Chris Jones is paid you know what I mean? So it's one of those things. It's duh, the defense isn't as great as we want it to be, but that's not an excuse too, because I think Lou Anarumo is a good coordinator. I just don't know at what point did it go all bad. Why do you think, I kind of hinted at some of the reasons I think, why do you think the drop-off is so severe from last year to this year?
I think it'd be hard not to say that it's a Jesse Bates and Von Bell familiarity thing. I think them playing in this scheme, being able to put guys in the right position, we kind of hinted at that. That's the only change. I don't really look at this defense and see much that really changed from a personnel standpoint. And obviously, if you've ever played safety before, and I think you have, Zim, I play corner, but they help out the corners, they help out the linebackers, they kind of help quarterback the defense from the back end, right? And it's hard I'm not trying to put it on them because I don't know if it's a linebacker thing as well, but that's the only thing that I've seen change. And so maybe I'm wrong because I'm not in the locker room. I'm not talking to any of the players. So I'm not trying to come at anybody that's on the defense that may be watching this. I'm just saying from an analyzing perspective, if I look at last year and I look at this year with what the difference has been, It's been the safeties. Now, when we're talking about just straight up safety play individually, when they're targeted or when there are runs that come their way, they're not messing up. That's what makes me think that it's more of a communication thing and kind of guys trying to get their footing and understanding of this Anarumu defense. That's just my guess on it. I'm not speaking facts or anything that I know for sure, but that's what I would assume because it just doesn't look like the same defense. The explosive plays that happened this year did not happen last year. There's been a lot of like missed tackles and stuff like that, but guys just running wide open. Like I've never seen stuff like this besides like Zim is saying 2019, like when Lou first showed up and guys weren't really familiar with like the defense, you saw a lot of these plays where teams were just able to kind of go up and down the field. And I'm not used to seeing that, bro. And I feel like the pass rush is better. That's the weird part. The pass rush is better this season than it was last season, but we're having more explosive plays. So I'm kind of baffled with, I don't know where it's really coming from and what the reason is. It seems like everybody's not on the same page. It seems like the linebackers have taken a step back, which I was championing these guys, and I was clearly wrong because I said that they were one of the top tandems in the league. Clearly, they have not played like that in the past couple of weeks. So I don't know what it is, bro. I don't know if it's a Lou thing. I don't know if what plays are being called, if they're calling different stuff than they did the year prior or what it is, but it's just they got to figure it out, bro, because you can't go on to try to make a playoff push this year and go into next year with the same issues.
I will say that if you are new to the podcast or you haven't seen this episode, we did do an interview with Mike Daniels, which it was kind of random at the time. Me, Mike is a real good friend of the show. I talk to him often. That's my dog. But he had got me so fired up one day. I said, man, come on the show or whatever. We was just on the phone or whatever. And that's a real good episode though. And sometimes when we're getting our ass kicked, like in some of these games, I think about stuff that he said in it. A lot of it's not so technical like everybody wants it to sound like. And it's kind of like a sheer will thing. Just kind of like pass pro is like a sheer will thing. It's like you got to be willing to stick your head in there and go pass protect. Or you got to be willing, like say it's 4th and inches, you got to be able to make that big stop. And I just feel like every single time that you watch the Bengals, like I challenge everybody to, when y'all watch them this week coming up, or go back and look. Every time, even when it's not a run, they're getting blown off the line of scrimmage. Like they're always going backwards. I'm watching Zach Carter's of the world. I'm watching Cam Samuel. They're always going backwards, like trying to hold their ground where their cleats are like trying to hold on for dear life into the dirt, and they just get pushed. And it's just this big, overwhelming domino effect. And when I watch some of these other teams, particularly like the Browns, and I just see them get off the bus, they just look bigger, they look stronger, and they look way more intimidating up front, and you don't see them get pushed. And as a result, they're able to do whatever they want on the back end. And I just think we got 2 more games to go in the regular season. We're going to get into, I guess, some playoff stuff in a second. But I will say this. The Bengals have 9 picks. The Bengals have $84 million in cap space. They have the fourth most cap space in the National Football League. Even with the Jamar Chase contract coming up, most of the money is going to be off the cap hit is going to be off his rookie deal. So one thing that the Bengals did early in the Lou Anarumu thing was go get DJ Reader. I'm looking for the Bengals this all season with those picks and the money and the DJ Reader situation. I think because he's injured, it might kind of work itself out in a weird way. Funny how that happens. But I'm really looking for the Bengals to go Chris Jones something, go Dexter Lawrence, Leonard Williams something, because in my mind, and I'm just naming guys that are out there this all season, but to me, DJ Reader being out, this might be a hot take. DJ Reader being out is big. It has a bigger impact than Jamar Chase being out. Jamar Chase has an impact, I think, a bigger impact on Super Bowl aspirations. But on a week-to-week basis, like no DJ Reader, and then these guys that are there, like they gotta be ready when whatever happens this season and moving forward. They gotta be ready to never put themselves in a position up front where they just look like this. And that's to me, that's the biggest takeaway. And I feel like the AFC North has the strongest fronts in the National Football League. Think about it. The Browns, the Ravens, and the Bengals both knocked off the 49ers. I think the Steelers lost to the 49ers, right?
Yeah, the Steelers.
That was at the beginning of the season. I think they got crushed. But those three teams at no point looked like they were outmatched. When you watch like the 49ers play some of these other teams, they are killing teams because of scheme and going sideways, horizontal, like, going sideline to sideline. In the AFC North, you just can't do that. And that's why you see the Bengals at 0-5. It's like it's about push and it's about mano a mano. And yes, there's scheme involved with it too. But I do think it's very simple when you do watch these games, particularly in the AFC North, that the Bengals look bad in all of them. They get whooped in all of them because they don't look good up front. I don't know if a healthy Joe Burrow week 1 beats the Browns. I really don't, because every single time that I watch that game, I'll go back and I watch highlights and stuff. They just look terrible up front, so it is what it is.
Super chat from Dustin Croft here. He says watching Hill and Wilson play defense is worse than walking in on your parents in the bedroom. This L soured on me big time with this organization. After offseason, gross. Yeah, I understand, bro. I understand that there's some frustration out there.
You know where he's coming from on that one?
Where is he coming from?
No, I'm asking you.
I mean, I wouldn't say that I'm soured on the
walking in on your parents. Walking in on your parents.
Oh, nah. I don't know anything about that. Nah, not whatsoever.
That's crazy.
That's nasty work. That is crazy. That's a crazy way to illustrate your anger there, my guy.
That's all he could think of.
Ben Riley, $5 super chat. With the entire O-line getting a failing grade, in my honest opinion, a used condom would have given Jake Brown better protection. What is up with y'all with these analogies today, man? Y'all on one. Talking about the offense.
Because they know that we're not going to read it unless it was in the form of a super chat. And they're like, I'm about to shoot my shot with this straight. What is going on?
I got to talk about the offense, though, because the defense, I agree that was horrible. Some of these offensive drives, first drive, 8 plays, 22 yards, they punt, right? Then the second drive, an interception, 59 yards, takes 5 minutes off. The third drive was even worse in the second quarter. -9 yards in 5 plays, 1 minute, and they ended up punting. Then you get a next drive, an interception, 4 plays, 11 yards, an interception. Then the next play after that, the next drive after that, turnover on downs, their best drive of the game from a yardage standpoint. 9 plays, they go 70 yards, turnover on downs. I believe, was this the 4th and inches? Was this the 4th and inches when they were at the goal line? I believe it was. Yes. So they do a run to Joe Mixon at the Pittsburgh 5 for no gain. They challenge it. It's upheld. They come out. And on 4th and inches, dog, on the 5-yard line of the Pittsburgh Steelers, their best drive of the game, they opt to pass. What the hell was Zach thinking on 4th and inches going in shotgun, dog?
I feel like I'm so old school with it. There's going to be somebody, and I seen this on the Twitter, and people was like, man, I ain't mad at it. I am. 4th and inches, bro. I'm just old school. If I see 4th and inches, bro, I'm sneaking, I'm running. That's it. Yeah. And if I'm not doing that, it's because I got a running quarterback or something, and I'm about to fake the sneak or fake the run and go boot action or something.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I could get down with a boot, bro. Like, center, boot, pass, cool. Shotgun on 4th and inches.
4th and inches.
No.
Shades of me at the Super Bowl, me and you. And as soon as I saw them, it sprayed in the shotgun at 4th. I said, hey, I tapped you. I said, all right, let's get our stuff, bro. Let's get our stuff. Let's get up out of here, bro.
Exactly.
There is no world that you're going to tell me I have inches to go to get a first down, and I'm going to back myself up 5 yards back into a shotgun position to receive the football. Like, it just doesn't make sense. Like, it's not – football is not rocket science to me. Now, I say that they didn't get the 4th inches. I mean, bro, like, who's going to be mad? They'd be like, I would be salty like, damn, bro, like, you could push and go get the 4th and inches, but at the same time, you're not going to be sitting back and saying like, damn, why the hell did they try to sneak it to get a football length of a football? Like, I don't know, bro. Like, I don't know. I just
and to do it after the week prior, you were in a similar situation with Joe Mixon against the Vikings. You got stuck the first time, and then you went right back, and Joe Mixon was able to get it. I just like I don't feel like there was too much criticism that I could really give Zach from like play calling standpoint up until that point. When he did that, that's when I was like, all right, Zach. Like before that, I feel like the offense wasn't executing right because you have Jake Brown and throw the first interception that he should have thrown out of bounds to at least get the Bengals 3 there on that first drive, right? Then you have another turnover. Jake Brown, he just I don't know what happened, bro. I don't know what it is about the Steelers.
Is it more? Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I don't know what it is about the Steelers defense where he just can't read the coverage, bro. It was similar to that first game where he thought it was man and it was zone, and he did it again in this game. I just didn't understand it. Go ahead, bro.
This upcoming week or whatever, I'm gonna tell you too. Steve Spagnuolo is gonna be all over that. Yeah. Like, and we're when we get to the Thursday show, we're gonna talk about it. Yes, Pacheco might not be there. I talked about Trey Smith might be there. Their defense 100% healthy. So from a communication standpoint, all of this stuff about the looks and all these different things, like he gonna be on it, bro. This is the one thing I will say though, and I will give the offense or I will give them a slight pass in this facet. When the George Pickens play happens, they do come back and go all the way down the field, and they do respond. They do throw for 300-something yards. They do they had 4 drives that get down to the 35-yard line and got no points. I literally tweeted out, I was like, to have the offense move the ball up and down the field like that and then walk out of it, and I think at the time they had only 8 points, it does make me feel like, okay, let me pump the brakes, everybody. I think the Bengals can get the offense and move the football down the field. But the mistakes that Jake Brown had made in that game, and not just that game, he's made it in other games. He just usually atone for them. He's made, and so the people that hadn't seen Jake Brown in play, and they'd be like, man, Jake, you know how like ops online be like, man, Jake Brown, y'all might got a situation. I'm like, you ain't really watched the games. Like he had like 200-something yards, really good, then throw a screen and give you like 60 yards. He's a good backup, bro. Like, but chill out. Like he, you know what I'm saying? Like he's good enough. And I think, that's where the buck stops. I just thought for the first time when it was time for him to return back, this is the first game where he didn't really return back out of that 4-game streak where he was doing really well. And moving forward, I think that because the push isn't going to look like it when everything, when the game is close enough, this is another thing that I think is bad too, is that people are saying like the offensive line is so trash. I don't agree with that one. I think the defensive line is. I think the offensive line looks like any offensive line, just like y'all saw the 49ers last night, just like I saw the Eagles like the week prior. Like these are some of the better offensive lines, or the Eagles being the best. And when you are down and the other team knows that you have to throw, the Bengals are down 24 points. 24 points.
Yeah.
What do you think that the offensive line is going to do at that point when you know that TJ Watt, what's his name? Highsmith, Hayward, you got Herbig, you got all these dudes that are pass rush specialists down 24 points. Null and void, bro. Like they're coming to get you and knock you on your butt, bro. And that because that's why I've been preaching balance. Not like I want them to run. It's just keep the defense honest, get them something to think about. And in the 3-game win streak that the Bengals just had, that's what they did. Even when they didn't have the most successful runs, they kept the defense honest. Like those are game, like the Vikings game, Joe Mixon runs for 4 yards a carry, Chase Brown runs for 3.9. The week prior, it's like 4.1. These aren't astronomical run games. It's just you're keeping the defense honest. And when you do that, guess what? That Vikings game, I think that's the first game that the Bengals had in I don't know how many years where they didn't even give up a sack. The offensive line is good enough. It's just when you're throwing like that against a defensive line like that, you're losing. You're going to get whooped, and you're going to give up sacks, and you're going to look bad. I don't look at the offensive line like that as it was their issue. I thought Jake Browning had some good drives, and he screwed up every single time. He screwed up every single time when it got down to the end of it, and the defense didn't help him out at all. They gave up big play after big play after big play. I want to take that game and the game that we had against them a month ago and go in my backyard and bury it somewhere and act like it never ever existed. If someone could send me a shovel so I could bury that game along with anything like that to me, that was the most embarrassing Bengals loss. Those 2 losses to the Steelers, they could take it disrespectfully as they want. Yeah. I don't think that the Steelers are good. I think they suck. And what does that say about the Bengals, that they got crushed like that? And I thought that the one that was a month ago, they looked terrible in that. The Bengals looked terrible in that game too. So it's disheartening when.
But you at least felt like they could have won in that one, right? Like you had a feeling like,
yes,
okay, if Jake Browner doesn't throw that interception in the red zone, Bengals win that one. Like that's how you kind of. I can't say that with this one at all. It was 2. We only scored 11. We only scored in the third quarter, dog. That's crazy.
Bro, the Bengals, they gave up 7 for 14 third down conversions to Mason Rudolph.
That's insane.
Like,
that's insane. And you warned me Mason Rudolph before the thing, and I wasn't having it. I'm not gonna hold you. I wasn't having it because I'm like, nah, I done seen him. But you were like, bro, I'm telling you, against the Bengals, and just as a quarterback that can push the ball down the field, it's a hard, tough matchup for us. And I had to give you credit on that because I wasn't believing it, but they damn sure proved me wrong in this game. It was nasty, bro.
Excuse me. A lot of times in the Lou Anarumo era, think about this. This is like some I can't back up stats behind, but stick with me real quick, everybody. Every time that we play, like outside of like PJ Walker and a couple of other guys I remember that just plain out suck, anytime that there's a bad quarterback that can throw a football, not like a bad running quarterback or like a sketchy one like Nick Mullins that's just like a choker, but like think about it, like what's bro from the Cowboys? Let's do that cooked this last year. Cooper Rush. He throws a good football.
Mike White.
And he pushes it down the field. Mike White, he throws a good football. Baker Mayfield pushes a good football. Like the guys that run primarily are as backups, or they run like Josh Allen's of the world, or Pat Mahomes. Lou generally has good success against them. The guys that do have more success against them are guys that throw a good football. They might not be household names. They might be backups, but he always somehow gets cooked in those games. Geno Smith is a guy that's kind of accurate with the football. The Bengals defense stepped up big in that game, but Geno was doing some stuff in that game, and I'm just so not used to it. Think about the biggest game the most yards we gave the whole 2023 season. Now, 22 season. This is a real good quarterback. His name is Tom Brady, but it's a quarterback that could throw in the tight windows. Everybody's like, man, these guys are running free. You know, like a guy that could throw in the tight windows, doesn't run, like Mahomes, Josh Allen, and stuff like that. And those are the quarterbacks that have a lot of success with Lou Anarumo defenses. Mason Rudolph isn't going to run at all, even though he had one scramble. I wanted to kill this dude. I don't know if y'all remember that one. I was like, come get him, you know, but I rather had played Mitchell Trubisky in that game. Guys that don't make good decisions, guys that lean on their legs way too early and don't go through their progressions. Mason Rudolph is such a douchey face, punchable face guy that I think he's so stupid that he's just like, I think Mason Rudolph probably thinks that he's one of the best quarterbacks in the world, as you should. But because of that mentality, it just let him, bro, remember right before halftime? They just were like, I'm thinking they're gonna nail the ball out. These dudes he's just like, I'm Mason Montana. Threw the ball 50 that threw 50 yards down the field. I'm like, what in the hell? Like, bro, and then check this out. Next week, bro, gonna have 100 yards passing.
Yeah, he definitely has a face that makes you want to fill a pillow face up with bars and soap and just beat the shit out of him. I'm not gonna lie. Let's talk about some positives, man. I know I don't want to be, we don't do the doom and gloom. I feel like we try to be realistic. I don't feel like we too high, too low. We try to stay realistic. Some of the good things that happened in this game: T. Higgins, 5 receptions, 140 yards and a touchdown. Tyler Boyd, 5 receptions on 7 targets, 59 yards. Drew Sample was probably the best tight end in this game after Tanner Hudson struggled a little bit or just didn't really have an impact. 3 receptions for 38 yards. Trenton Irwin was able to hop in, 4 receptions for 37 yards. And Yoshi was able to make some plays, 4 receptions for 36 yards. from that standpoint, how do you feel about the T. Higgins game and what happened with Yoshi and some of the younger receivers there?
I think Yoshi is going to be, to me, he's going to be one of the best wide receiver threes in the National Football League. I really do. I think he's going to be a good option, and I think that the writing is on the wall for guys that we love, like Tyler Boyd. To me, like it's the sad reality of the Migo run is probably over, but I feel like it's in good hands. We don't know what's going to happen with T, but I will say that I thought that Yoshi, even the catch that they said wasn't a catch, I thought it was a catch. I thought his hand or his foot was down before his hand went down, and that would have been the catch. But he's just got to finalize some of those plays, and I think he'll be fine. T. Higgins is who we thought he was. Every time Jamar Chase is out, he always does that. He did this all last year. I had a tweet that was going crazy yesterday. I'm like, Joe Burrow threw to worse wide receivers than Pat Mahomes. And people took that as like, are you talking about T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, and Tyler Boyd? No, I'm saying that last season, guys got hurt. And then, T. Higgins, when Jamar Chase was out, T. Higgins had to step up. And then Trent Irwin had to step up. Trent Taylor had to step up. Samaje Perine had to step up. Joe Mixon was out. Hayden Hurst was out. Sample had, Sample towards ACL. So, but I'm just saying, like, there are different guys that's got to step up, and I think Yoshi's gonna be one of the best wide receiver threes in the National Football League, and I think it's gonna be a fun ride where we get a chance to see the maturation of Yoshivas. I do think that's gonna be a fan favorite type of guy.
Yep. Super chat here from Ben Riley for $20. Appreciate that, bro. He says you can give them a pass if you want, but it would get intercepted too. In my honest opinion, the issue is very stubborn and outthinks himself with play calling. He's not great within our division and is slow to start off seasons. I mean, I get this. This isn't our views on the thing, but we like to hear you guys' views. I think sometimes he does try to outthink himself. He does kind of tend to overthink some play calls. I mean, I think sometimes he's trying to not do things that are predictable, but it kind of backfires because it kind of, to a fault hurts us in certain situations. Sometimes, like when the Eagles line up in the Philly special, you know what they're doing, but can you stop it? Can you stop it? You can't do this calculus in your head where you're like, okay, well, they could see this coming, and they're like, you have to feel confident, especially as the Bengals, especially with a player like Joe Mixon, especially with a player like Orlando Brown and Alex Kappa and these guys that you brought in, that you can get inches with this talent that we have. I mean, I understand it. I think that the one thing I will say about Zach, though, is he does adjust. He is pretty good at learning from his mistakes. But Zim, what are your thoughts on this comment here, bro?
For me, I don't agree with this. I feel like Zach he had done a really good job on the Steelers. Like when you go back to the Ryan Finley game, that's probably like his best game. I thought, and we were talking about this in the group chat. I don't know if you saw me talking to our guys, Jake and mine, with the Bengals Pulse, but I was telling them, I was like, coming into this season, the Bengals had won 5 out of the last 6 against the Steelers. Coming into the season, the Bengals had won 4 out of the last 5 against the Ravens. Coming into the season, the Browns was the one that had his number. And even in the early years of it, those are Joe Burrow on bad teams in the 2 rookie games, but Burrow throws for like 400 yards in both of 350 in one and the 400 in the other one. I don't agree with this sentiment that the Ravens and the Steelers have been getting out on Zach Taylor. Bengals had won 4 out of the 5 against the Ravens against the Steelers. And then one of those wins was an overtime thriller where we missed the extra point. Then you move forward to this year, you have no Burrow in both of the Steelers games. Then in the Ravens game, you play him on one leg, and then you come back later on, and he's knocked out in the first quarter. I think that if anything, it showed that the AFC North said I said this on the last show, people do not want the Bengals to win. I watch Ravens, Browns, Steelers fans click up all day and try to jump Bengals fans on Twitter online. I never once ever see like Steelers like pouncing on Ravens. Like they be like, there's a respect level there. The Bengals have won the division nearly half the decade, and they act like this is the first 2 seasons. It hasn't been that way, and I'm sorry that I like to tell the truth sometimes or all the time. But the Bengals have won the division 4 out of 10 years. So, like it's this common theme where they're like, bro, they don't never do nothing. I'm like, nah, bro. Like, y'all just hate the Bengals went to all of the places that your team's been telling us that they're going to go to all this time. Since in the last 2 years, the Bengals had more playoff wins than all three of those teams combined since 2016. Can I slow that down for y'all? The Bengals have more playoff wins than all three of those teams combined since 2016. Bengals did that in the last 2 years since 2021 with Joe Burrow in just 2 full seasons. So I get why people just like, oh, I hate these dudes, whatever. They got to where they went to real fast. So then everybody tries to downplay everything that they do. If they go to a Super Bowl, they like, oh, you ain't never did it. I mean, you didn't win no ring. Cool. But you won one playoff game in the last 9 years, but you talk like you the Patriots.
Yeah, and it's to me.
I don't get that. Like why don't they want to? Why don't? And if they would acknowledge that, man, the Bengals is good in this time frame, then I think the healthy conversations will be there. But every time that we win something, it's like, oh, well, we were hurt. But then when they win something, there's no T. Higgins there. There's no DJ Reed and none of that. Bengals fans don't even bring that up. We just be like, yep, good game. They just still be hating on the Bengals for no reason. And then their quarterback ain't shake my quarterback hand, so I don't like them anyway.
You know what's crazy, though? I cannot remember a time. I had a tweet after the game where I think the day after the game where I said it. I cannot remember a time when the Steelers were actually competitive. Like, this is back when they were actually going to the playoffs and all of that. I can't remember a time where they really relished sweeping the Bengals. Like, they never used to take us serious. It seemed like yeah, they would poke it, but the way that they were celebrating, like it was an accomplishment to do it. Is
did you see that though? Did you see that on your timeline?
I did. Yeah, I saw it on mine.
Really?
I did see it. I saw a lot of people celebrating, sweeping the Bengals, and people that were just had their pitchforks out for Mike Tomlin. People that were saying the standard and Pittsburgh was championships and playoff wins. It looked like the standard was sweeping the Bengals to me. I don't know what your side looked like, but it was a lot of.
But this is the weirdest, craziest part that happened to me. I didn't have Steelers fans talking to me after we won. It was all the teams that lost to the Bengals previously. So you get Ravens fans, Chiefs fans, you get all of those people coming back and being like, you guys are like, it's always those people. And I'm like, we didn't even play out today. Oh, y'all talk all that trash. No, we don't. We're just telling you what happened and you don't like that. The Bengals went and knocked you out the playoffs and you don't like that. Oh, well, Lamar ain't played. Yeah, Joe Burrow didn't play, but we're not making a fuss or making.
But what about when Lamar played all the years when the Bengals went from 2016 until 2020, where Lamar did play and you guys didn't win? Don't get me wrong. I think the Ravens are a good team and this and that. But now, if you're going strictly based off of like what they like to do to us, especially before we got the playoff win. When you focus specifically on playoff wins, like people did with the Bengals from the 2011 teams all the way to 2015, what did they say? Those teams were good. Those teams won divisions. They were great regular season teams. But what did they say to us? You guys couldn't win in the playoffs. So if I'm bringing up the fact that Lamar is 1-3 in the playoffs, that's not me hating. That's just actual facts and saying, keeping the same standard to what you're saying. Then that's when you want to jump to, oh, well, we got a Super Bowl. Well, Lamar Jackson doesn't have a Super Bowl, so what are we talking about?
Right. There's somebody literally, you can't get our clout, so I'm not going to say you the dude's name, but a dude literally just said, until y'all win something, you get no respect. Lamar Jackson has been in the National Football League 6 years and has had one playoff win. Joe Burrow, you watching in his first 2 full seasons go to a Super Bowl, but you're telling us that we don't get respect. Like, what have you done to get respect? I gotta go back. I gotta go back 10 years to validate your existence. Like, where they do that at? Like, why would I go back 10 years to say, oh yeah, you know what, y'all got it, big dog? Like, nah, bro, I'm not going back no decade to give you no respect. You currently talking about this season right now. I've seen this happen before. Lamar Jackson did the same exact thing he's doing right now. You had a home game against the Titans, and you got packed up, and you went home and cried in the car, and it was an upset against the number 1 and the number 7 seed, and you were embarrassed, and you had nothing to show for it. Joe Burrow.
Imagine if that would have happened to Joe Burrow. Imagine if that would have happened to the Bengals.
And the wild thing about it is Joe Burrow did the exact same thing to the Titans on the road. He took out the number 1 seed in the Titans on the road, got sacked 9 times and threw for 350.
No
and they
like,
advantage. And they the defense carried. The one game that Lamar won is a defensive effort. Derrick Henry runs for 40 yards and Ryan Tannehill throws for 120. It's a defensive effort in the one game. I'm not saying that to delegitimize what they're talking about, but these are the things that just don't make sense to me. And I come back to the same point. If all of those people, like these people in the comments that are ops or whatever, if they would just for 1 second say, you know what? Y'all had a good team. Joe Burrow is one of the better quarterbacks. Y'all did knock out all these teams. You did only lose by 3 points in the Super Bowl. You did make it. If they said real stuff like that, then Bengals fans would then come back and then we can have real football conversations. But the more that they use the mental gymnastics of I'm moving the goalposts for anything that you've accomplished and anything that I haven't accomplished, I won't acknowledge it. Every single time that I tell a purple person or every time I tell a Steelers fan that you haven't won a playoff game in X amount of years, they go straight to 10 years back. I'll be like, what are you doing?
The Steelers have the longest currently right now. The Steelers in the AFC North have the longest playoff drought, but you will not hear them bring that up. And if somebody says it to them, they do not want to talk about it. Like the fact, let's also talk about this. The Steelers swept us, but who still has the better chance to make the playoffs? Do you think what matters if you swept someone or if you actually made the playoffs? Like that's
I'm gonna take it a step further, partner. I F with the fact that they got the sweep, and I think that gives them bragging rights. And I'm not sure, and I don't want to invalidate anything that the Ravens or the Steelers have accomplished this year. But people gotta stop being weird on the internet to try to say, "Oh, I mean, Joe Burrow, y'all was 5-4." I mean, it's not like he would have gone to an ARC championship when he literally went 5-4, 2021 and 2022, and went to back-to-back AFC championships and won the division. And then they act like that didn't happen. If they could just stop doing that weird purple people stuff, we could have real conversations. Then you would have Bengals fans saying, you know what, bro, Lamar is a good quarterback. But until they start getting real and acknowledging that, and they want to hide behind injuries, they say, oh, we was the most injured team in the National Football League. How come those same injuries didn't hurt you when you was time to go play the Rams that following week that they should have won, in the Green Bay Packers? Those are two teams that went to NFC championship games and the Super Bowl champions, and the team looked good. But when they played the Bengals, they're now suddenly Walmart workers. Last time I checked, Stevens, Worley, dudes like that are still on the team. Joe Burrow threw for 1,000 yards on you in one season, and to this day, they won't acknowledge it like it didn't happen. Or, like, let's go to the playoff or the coin flip game. Those are two games where their defense was fully healthy. Go look at the box score. Everybody was there. The only person that wasn't there was Lamar Jackson. Now, if I come back and I say, well, hey, look, the only time y'all beat us was week 5 last year. Remember the game we played in week 5 last year or whatever? T. Higgins and DJ Reader wasn't there. None of them bring it up. None of them bring it up. Why is that important? T. Higgins this year comes out and goes crazy on them in week 2 with Joe Burrow on one leg. Then Joe Burrow comes back later on fully healthy, gives this dominant defense 100 yards in the first quarter, 10 points. And y'all watch all these other teams struggle. Let's get off of them. Let me get into this playoff thing.
Hold on. Before we do that, let's toss it to our friends at Midwest Best Barbecue, and then we'll be back looking at the playoff scenarios.
Ace and Zim will keep us up on that Bengals news. And when they get it hit, Midwest Best Q is the move. On our way to make it through the grid. Keep up wings, it's so smooth that you need 50. Ace and Zim will keep us up on that Bengals news. And when they get it hit, Midwest Best Q is the move. On our way to make it through the grid. Keep up wings, it's so smooth that you need 50. Ace and Zim will keep us up on that Bengals news. And when they get it hit,
Shout out to Midwest Best Barbecue 669 Justice Court in Loveland, Ohio. Definitely stop in and let them know Ace and Zim sent you. Make sure you get your CTB wings, Uno wings, G-Funk wings, any kind of barbecue that you want right now. Midwest Best Barbecue has it. If you're throwing a New Year's party, definitely stop in. Put an order in at MidwestBestBarbecue.com and make sure that you get right for the New Year's with that coming up. Or if you just want to watch the game at the crib against the Chiefs, hit up Midwest Best Barbecue. Let's get into some of these playoff scenarios. Let's do a quick run through. So we're going to go with a lot of the AFC teams, any team that has an AFC matchup. So that way that gives us our chances. Currently right now, Bengals have, I believe it's a 15% chance, but there's been a tweet floating around from, I believe it's the New York Times calculator that says if the Bengals go 2-0 in the next 2 weeks, they have a 92% chance to make the playoffs after what happened. Let's start with this first game. Buffalo, or the Patriots at Buffalo. Who you got?
You said Patriots versus Buffalo?
Yep.
I'm going to go crazy. I'm going Patriots.
All right, Patriots. So right now, for those at home listening that can't see this on the screen, and if you are watching, make sure you hit that subscribe button to the Wincinnati YouTube account. But right now, Baltimore Ravens are the first seed. Second seed is Miami. Third is the Chiefs.
Can I say this real quick? The Bengals have a 94% chance of making the playoffs if they win the next 2 games. I will say that. Also, in most of these scenarios, you're wanting the teams like the Colts or whatever to be matched up against you. So you'd be rooting for the Texans to win the division so that the Bengals get the head-to-head, or so that the Jaguars get the head, like the head-to-head. I just want to say that none of these scenarios are crazy, but I just want to preface it by saying if the Bengals win out, they have a 95% chance, and that's just the next 2 games of going to the playoff.
So first seed Ravens, second seed Dolphins, third seed Chiefs, fourth seed Jacksonville, fifth seed Browns, sixth seed Buffalo, seventh seed is Colts as it stands now. So we're going to go with the Patriots there, Steelers and Seahawks. Who you taking?
I'm taking Seahawks.
Seahawks. I think it was a fluke. It's no hate. I think the Seahawks are battling back. They won, I believe, 2 games in a row, and it's in Seattle. Bengals versus Chiefs. We got to take the
Rudolph
Bengals,
going
right?
throw for 110 yards.
All right.
You said Bengals. You said Bengals Chiefs.
Yeah, we gotta win these next 2, right? We gotta automatically take the Bengals.
I feel like that makes it so easy, though. Don't you want? I want to see it.
I don't think they make it without that win, bro.
Okay. It's like 7% chance, I think, if they don't.
Yeah.
There are a couple scenarios though. If you go, I've done one. If they were to lose this game, there are some scenarios that don't sound that crazy on the teams that we need to lose, like the Steelers.
Right.
All right, but
so Dolphins at Ravens. Who you got?
I'm going to go Ravens.
Yep, Ravens. I agree. Jets at the Browns.
I'm gonna go Browns. Our division is the best division in football. It's not even close.
Titans at Texans.
Texans all day. CJ Stroud is back. Nico
Collins
Collins about to turn my fantasy football team up.
Bro. I think this could be an upset. Raiders and Colts. I think the Raiders might.
Raiders.
I'm taking the Raiders, bro.
Raiders.
I'm taking the Raiders for sure. Chargers at the Broncos.
That's 2 nasty teams right there. I'm gonna go Chargers, bro.
All right. So if that were to happen, the Bengals would jump up to the 6th seed. This is kind of crazy with how this is going. So then let's move into week 18. You got Steelers at the Ravens.
I think Steelers win because Ravens are going to sit everybody, and the Steelers are going to, win.
Okay. Browns at the Bengals. We got to take the Bengals, right?
Got to take the Bengals. Even though I'm going to be honest with y'all. Y'all not going to like me for this one. If Browns aren't sitting, guys, I can't see it.
Yeah. If the Browns aren't sitting. Yeah,
if they're not sitting, guys,
but this could be a situation where they do, because if Baltimore is at 13-4, there's no way that Cleveland can get the first seed. So why would they? You know what I mean? Unless they're trying to get.
Unless it's like a home field game versus.
It's similar. It's very similar to us when we got into the Super Bowl. Remember when we basically couldn't compete for the first seed, so we just settled for the 4th or 5th seed. There's really no point in
It's
really doing it.
You know what else happened that same season? The Bengals beat the Chiefs the week prior.
Yep, that's true. All right, Texans at Colts. Who you got?
Texans all day.
Texans with CJ Stroud. That moves them up. Chiefs at the Chargers. I think I'm taking Chiefs, man.
I'm going Chiefs.
I don't see them losing to the Chargers now. That would be crazy. Losing 3 games in a row before the playoffs would be a little crazy for me. Jags at Tennessee with possibly no Trevor Lawrence. Who knows? What are we getting
Tennessee.
here?
I'm gonna go
Tennessee. All right.
I think they're gonna run that ball.
I don't know what this means, but Jets at Patriots. Does that even mean anything at this point?
I'm gonna take Patriots.
All right. Bills at the Dolphins.
That's a tough one. I'm gonna go Dolphins though.
Dolphins
knocking the Bills out.
Ooh,
Steelers get in.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Bills are our biggest.
Broncos at the Raiders.
I think Raiders are going to sweep coming out of this thing.
This is the path, bro. This is the path. So for those that don't know, we only did AFC games because none of these NFC ones matter, right? Unless they're playing an AFC team. So let me give you guys what happens in this scenario. You have the Baltimore Ravens that are the 1 seed at 13-4. Your second seed is the Miami Dolphins at 12-5 versus the 9-8 Pittsburgh Steelers. Your third seed is Kansas City with facing off against Cincinnati, 10-7.
Let's get it.
We will be going back to KC again. You got the Cleveland Browns.
Can I say out of all the teams in the playoffs that I would rather play, I would want smoke with the Steelers again, and then the Chiefs would be another one. A lot of them other teams, I don't think that those are favorable matchups for the Bengals defense.
Do you know what this means? The entire AFC North makes the playoffs under this scenario.
Is crazy.
If it plays out the way. And honestly, I feel like that's right because I feel like we're the strongest division in football. Like, think about that. 3 out of the 4 teams beat the 49ers, who are supposedly the best team in the NFC, right? Like, that is insane if it were to finish out that way. All 4 teams in the North making it. I don't know, though. I don't know how I feel about it because that increases the chances of somebody from the AFC North winning the bowl or getting to the bowl.
I need to somebody need to screenshot this and like at the Wincinnati Pod. If y'all not following the Wincinnati Pod, send that to us because if this happens, this is some Nostradamus type stuff, and this is insane, and it's not that crazy. I think CJ Stroud coming back. Boom. I think the Dolphins go and knock off. The one thing that made that scenario possible is the Patriots beating the Bills. So that was the one.
Well, here's the other thing. Yeah,
that was the crazy.
Patriots beating the Bills, and then you had the Dolphins beating the Bills. That knocks. I personally, though, I don't think that's gonna happen. I don't think
right.
If it does happen, I would be shocked.
But that's the scenario that got us there. Without that scenario, then the Steelers will get knocked out, and it will be us 3. Like, it would be us winning. Yeah.
That's crazy. And the Jags completely missed the playoffs after they were, weeks away from the second seed. But thank you guys for
Bro got the same injury as Jamar Chase right now, don't he? He got the AC joint from a quarterback? I don't know.
Not far-fetched. But if you guys are watching, please be sure to hit that subscribe button. Follow me at New Stripe City. Follow Zim at Zim Hude on Twitter, at Zim_Hude on Instagram. Follow us at the Wincinnati Pod. Definitely be sure to check in with Jake and Mon with the Bengals posts. They definitely have their post-game show that went live after the game, so check that out. We will be back Thursday to preview the upcoming matchup against the Kansas City Chiefs. So make sure you locked in to Wincinnati for all of your needs. Zim, was there anything that you want to say before we get out of here?
I don't know. I just want to know, is Jamar Chase playing? And if he plays, I mean, this is it, people. Season on the line, baby. This is it. This is we fought to, be relative in this every single year. Forget all that draft stuff. Let's get it.
Let's get it. Who that?
It's an exciting time to be a Bengals fan.
Ace and Zim.
We got a special show as always.
The voice of the Bengals and
world.
Ford, Willie Anderson, Corey Dillon.
The name of this thing is called Wincinnati, and I'm not going to stop.
Talk to us about that roller coaster season.
I'm still gonna give you the same AJ.
I'm gonna work as hard as I can to be the best.
Always working ever since I met y'all boys.
I gotta get your top 5 receivers. Better, man.
Be real. Watch out for us.